8 fighters, 8 techniques. Akira Yuki, the only active master of Hakyoku-ken, sets off to travel the world in search of enlightenment and worthy opponents. He finds them in the World Fighting Tournament, where the strongest fighters have gathered to determine who stands supreme in the art of hand-to-hand combat. All of these fighters have arrived to test their methods and their might against each other. Who will stand victorious? Virtua Fighter was released in the arcades in 1993. It was one of the first 3D fighting games released, and it was very influential to the other games that came after it. Case in point, it was a huge hit. The series would go on to get several sequels and some home ports. The port we'll be going over today is the 32X version. And I'm proud to say that it's pretty faithful. The gameplay seems very close to its arcade counterpart. It also added some extras such as different camera angles, extra modes to play, and even a squeeze option that makes the game look decent on widescreen displays. That said, the graphics and sounds did take a significant hit. There aren't as many polygons compared to the arcade version, and the details of the stages aren't as good. While I can appreciate most if not all of the voice lines being intact, the sound quality is not exactly a 1-for-1. I'll save my opinion on the game for the long play. For now, let's go over the controls. A 3-button controller is more than enough, but you can also use a 6-button controller for more benefits. The controls are A, which is guard, B is punch, and C is kick. If you're on the 6-button controller, you can go to the options and make the extra 3 buttons perform shortcuts by setting the controls to beginner. Virtua Fighter is a fighting game that is based around realistic fighting. Therefore, you won't see any projectiles or magic tricks like in plenty of other fighting games. Each character has a wide variety of attacks to perform. Some might require emotion, and others might require you to press multiple buttons together. Let's talk about the fighting itself. Strikes will land in one of 3 areas. High attacks tend to be the fastest attacks in the game. They're balanced by the fact that you can block or duck under them. Mid attacks have to be blocked by holding guard while standing. Low attacks have to be blocked by guarding while crouching, or you can jump over them. Not only do you have to consider where the strikes land, but you also have to consider how fast they come out and how fast they recover. For example, low punches are fast, safe, and effective in stopping the opponent's offense. Low kicks have more reach, but they aren't as fast and the opponent can move first even if the attack landed. This is universal since everyone can perform these. It won't be easy to break an opponent's defense with strikes alone. Thankfully, you can perform a grab. These deal a decent amount of damage and they are very useful against defensive opponents. However, it's difficult to grab an offensive opponent and you cannot grab someone who's crouching, unless you're using Jeffrey or Wolf. I know I didn't go over everything, but I'll talk more about the gameplay throughout the long play. If you want a full guide that also contains a move list for everyone, you can check it out in the link below. With that said, on to the long play. Alright, and this is my long play of Virtua Fighter for the 32X. Now I did just, I am commentating over this long play and I did a cheat code at the main menu. If you do 3 clockwise motions and then 2 counterclockwise motions, hopefully I'm right on that, you can get a stage select and you can make the life and timer gauges invisible. Of course I didn't use that, I just wanted to show it off. And this was played on expert. If you're playing this yourself, please just leave it on normal, or even put it on easy for that matter, because the CPU is just... it's a mess, alright? But I'll get into that later. I still want to go over some gameplay aspects before we get into that. In any case, here are the cast of characters. We have Akira Yuki, Pai-chan, Law-chan, Whoop Hawkfield, one of my favorites, Jeffrey McWild, Kagemaru, Sarah Bryant, and Jackie Bryant. And by alternating between left and right when you're on Akira and Jackie, you would get Doral. I am using, I did use Law for this playthrough because he's one of my favorites. He's actually, my main in the Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Granted, I haven't played that game in a very long while, but I do think it's a decent game nonetheless. Okay, so the first thing I should mention is, waking up from a knockdown. So, you can see, like, the AI right there, they rolled around. When you're on the floor, there are multiple options you have for getting back up. You can roll and then get up by mashing a guard. You can get up normally by holding forward. You can do a handspring jump by holding up. And you can also perform an attack. So if you mash K, you perform a mid kick that hits crouching opponents. And if you hold down the mash kick while you're down, you perform a low kick. I usually just get up normally for this playthrough because it's the AI. They'll probably just read it, block it, and then immediately punish you for it. But it's fine. Now another thing I should talk about is juggles and character weight. So the way juggles works is that if you land a launcher or usually a counter hit, you can actually land hits against the opponent while they're still midair if you have enough time. It really just depends on the move, if it was a counter hit or not. But you can't do juggle combos in this game. But you also have to consider the opponent's weight. For example, you have characters like Jeffrey who are really heavy, probably the heaviest character in the game next to Doral. And then you have characters like Pi and Sarah who are really light. So the whole idea is that the heavy characters fall down really fast because, you know, they're heavy. And the light characters stay in the air longer and they get launched higher. And I kind of like this. I think it's still a thing in even the newer Virtua Fighter games. But so everyone has the same amount of HP, right? And that might sound as a weird choice, but when you really think about it, it's okay, so everyone has the same HP, but it's hard to juggle characters like Jeffrey because he's heavy. If you hit him with a launcher, you might get 1 or 2 hits at best. Whereas if you did that same launcher against someone like Pi or Sarah, they get launched higher, you probably get 3 or 4 hits in. And I've always liked that with the Virtua Fighter series. I think it's in the other 3D fighting games as well, but it's definitely a thing in Virtua Fighter. Now another thing I should mention is down attacks. You saw Sarah try to do it right there. And the way they work is that you press up plus punch while the opponent is down. And I don't know if it's dependent on what you knock the opponent down with. Maybe it's a heavy attack that keeps them down longer. But usually you just don't have time to actually land a down attack. You perform it while they're down and they'll get up before it even lands. So usually, yo, the music in this game is so good. Alright, sorry. So I try to use it anyways like I did in this playthrough, but there's no guarantee that you'll always land it. You can actually perform a stronger down attack if you press and hold up plus punch. I don't know if I ever do it in this playthrough, but the reason why I don't is because they take longer to execute, so rarely will you actually get that to land in an actual match, especially if the opponent's just ready to get up. Anyways, I should talk about strings. Now, all characters have strings. These are attacks you can do back to back. So for example, with Law, I'm doing punch, 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 and holding up plus back and pressing kick to do the backflip at the end of those 3 punches. And the reason why I do the string a lot is because it's a true combo, because there are plenty of strings in this game that aren't real combos. If I did punch, 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 kick with Law, the opponent would be able to block the last kick before right before it comes out. But the punch, punch, punch backflip string is really good because they can't block the backflip, they're still in hit stun. So yeah, there are some strings you should be wary about. There are a few strings in this game that are only combos on counter hit. I can't think of one from the back of my head. It's usually the 2-hit strings because the first hit will land and then the second hit won't, but on a counter hit, the first hit will launch and then the second hit will land. I did make a full guide on this and I'm pretty sure I listed all of them, so you can always check that out if you're curious. And yeah, it's best to use the strings that are true combos. You don't ever want to use, for example, if I use punch, 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 kick, and the CPU blocks it, then I'm just left wide open and they can punish me right after. And this also goes for if you're facing against a human player also. If you're ever getting hit by a string in any Virtua Fighter game, really, you should always hold block just in case, you never know. Now, know if I try to use grabs in this playthrough, mainly because, well, the CPU is just really cheap. Oh jeez, I'm pretty sure Pi reverses me twice. Look, the CPU in this game is... Oh, God. I'm trying not to get angry, but like just watching this is making me angry. Because I usually, when it comes to fighting games, I try to show the cool stuff in it, like when I'm doing a playthrough. But the AI is just so messed up in this that I just keep doing the same exact string because I'm scared to do anything else. They read your inputs, they block the same moves they block each move at the right time. Like, for example, I remember messing around with save states, and when I did punch, 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 kick, they blocked it. And then when I did punch, 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 low kick, they blocked that as well. It's just... it's really cheap, alright? So that's why I didn't really go for grabs in this, because it feels like every time I try to, they just immediately go into offensive and avoid it completely. I don't know. Maybe grabs are really useful and I don't know about it. And yeah, I just stick to the same thing throughout the whole game, just the same string. And if you're playing this yourself on Expert, I recommend you do the same. I'm sure there's a better way to deal with the AI that I haven't figured out. But yeah, you just do a safe string and you should be fine. I say should because, like, I did have some failed playthroughs before this and anything can go wrong. What else to mention about this game? Really, not much else. I mean, it feels like I went over everything I wanted to go over. There are some other modes in this. There's a ranking mode where I don't think I show it. Yeah, I'm not going to show it in this playthrough because I didn't find it that important. But the way the ranking mode works is that you go through the whole game on 1 life, and depending on how well you did, you get a rank, and the highest rank is Master. Now, out of curiosity, I did use like on my own, I was playing on an emulator. Actually, I should mention, this run is done on an emulator. Unfortunately, my HDMI converter blew out while I was trying to record this on a console, so I just had to resort to this for now until I get a new one. And whatchamacallit, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. So the ranking mode, I did try it on my own. I managed to finish the game, like the ranking mode, but I don't remember what rank I got. I think it was like 4th level or like 5th level. And when I tried to like abuse save states in order to get like a perfect in every match or whatever, I still didn't get the max rank. So I think to get master rank, you just have to use like every single kind of move or something. I don't know what it is because I tried combos and everything like that, and that didn't work. Not that it matters. The reason why I don't really want to talk about the ranking mode is because there's no reward for getting the master rank. In fact, the game says nothing when you... Wow, that did a lot of damage. The game says nothing when you get this rank, so I didn't find it that important. But it is something that was probably interesting at the time, and I probably would have tried to... Like, if I owned this game back then and I had nothing else to do, I probably would have been doing the ranking mode a lot, just to try to get master at least. Now, this game does have a tournament mode, and I am going to show that off at the end. And it's pretty cool. It's like brackets. You know, it's like 8 players, and what's cool about it is that whoever gets first place actually gets like you get a win quote, and you actually see I think they used the art from Virtua Fighter Remix, but you see that later. Anyways, here's Doral. So after you defeat the main 8 characters, you get to face Doral. The game automatically, if you change the stage size, like let's say you change it to 4 meters in the options, it'll automatically default to 20 when you reach the Doral. And not only that, but also add 1 more round to the match. So if you're playing the game on like 3 rounds or whatever, like best 3 out of 5, it'll instead change to 4 out of 7 when you get to the Doral. I mean, I could be wrong, but I know it's definitely the case for when you play on 2 rounds and even 1 round. In any case, Doral is pretty strong. Thankfully, fast strings is all you need to defeat her. I don't resort to anything else because it's just too risky. I think I try to go for a grab. I don't... Like, I just don't like trying to... I really have a pet peeve for fighting games where, like, I can't... How can I say this? I can't express myself when I'm facing the AI. For some games, for some of these Genesis games, I can do that. Like, I think of, from the top of my head, maybe Cosmic Carnage or Power Instinct, you know, Ichizoku. But this game, I just can't. You just gotta use the same moves over and over in order to defeat the AI. I mean, it is fighting games, there's nothing new at this point, so I really shouldn't be mad about it. And this is the credits. I should mention, beating the Raw or losing to the Raw doesn't really do anything different to my knowledge, so... like, even if you lose to the Raw, you still get these credits. And what can I say? That was Virtua Fighter on the 32X. Unfortunately, I couldn't, like, in this launch, I couldn't show all of the cool stuff. Like, there were some combos I really missed out on, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it. And coming up is the tournament mode, and yeah, with that said, I'll see you until then. Alright, so this is the tournament mode of Virtua Fighter on 32X. And I didn't get to talk about this earlier, but when you go to the tournament mode, you can actually select your costume color, and you do this by pressing down or up. All characters have 8 colors, and in the other modes, like arcade, you have to like hold up or down and press a button in order to select the color. And if you want to know of the combinations, you can check the guide. I did list all of them. And yeah, from here, I'm just going to talk about my opinion on this game because I didn't get to mention it throughout the long play. So, Virtua Fighter on the 32X. Well, I first need to start off by saying that this isn't a game I grew up with. I grew up with Genesis in a sense, I guess. Like, it feels like I played more Sega Genesis games than I did Super Nintendo. Now, my first introduction to Virtua Fighter 2 on the Sega Genesis was the Sega Genesis Collection. I think it was called that. Maybe it was called Sega Genesis Classics, I'm not sure. But it came out on the PS2 and the PSP. And I remember I played it and I didn't think much of it because before that, like, my only real experience with Virtua Fighter was playing Virtua Fighter 4. I don't know if it was Virtua Fighter 4 Vanilla or Evolution on PS2. But I remember playing Virtua Fighter 2 on the collection and I thought it was alright, like I had fun with it. It wasn't a game I played a lot, but I did enjoy it for what it was. And then eventually I did grow up, I gotten better at fighting games and learned a lot about the game, and nowadays I appreciate it a lot because it was a very interesting take on like a 3D game going into 2D. And for what Virtua Fighter 2 is on the Sega Genesis, I think it's pretty good. As for this game, I'm not sure what to say about it. I will say this, as a port, it's pretty dang good. Like, it's not perfect, you know. I mentioned in the intro that like the graphics aren't like 100% there. There are less polygons. The details in like the stage and all that isn't as good. But it's really fun, and I actually had a really good time making a guide for this. Now, the thing with Virtua Fighter as a series is that none of my friends play this. Like, I'm the only one that knows how. I mean, we'll all laugh at like back turn counter hit Tetsuzanko or whatever, but I'm pretty much the only one that plays this and has some idea on how the game works. Or at least, I'm not amazing at it. Like, I'm definitely not tournament level, but I'm at least decent. Like, I'm average, or at least a bit better than average. Who knows? But my point is that like, it's hard for me to say a lot about this game because I've only played it by myself, except for like maybe 2 times I played it with another person. But again, like I said, like none of my friends play Virtua Fighter. And like if I ever wanted to have a serious match in this, well, there is no way that's happening anytime soon. But despite that, like, just not having many people to play this with, and the AI being absolutely insufferable on the expert difficulty, I should mention that this tournament mode is being played on the default difficulty, which is normal. But yeah, like, my issues with it aside, this is a pretty good game on the 32X because There were plenty of 32X games that were meant to be Sega Genesis games. You got like, heck, like Cosmic Carnage and Tempo. Like, those games could have easily been on the Genesis instead, but, you know, the 32X had a short library, so they had to support it somehow. But this is definitely a really good 32X game. I probably said that like 100 times by now, but I think you get the point. But yeah, overall, decent game. I think as a Virtua Fighter port, it's pretty fun. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that said, I'll see you later.